I do like looking that young.
You feel like it's false advertising?
I do.
So don't put it on a dating app.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I am Emily. I am the director of the Climb program here at PSI, and I'm joined by a bunch of people who I think a lot of us feel are superheroes. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to start debunking that superhero myth. Wendy, if you'd like to go first and tell us who you are, what you do here, and your favorite pizza topping.
I couldn't hear who you were talking
to. Wendy, you want to go first?
Oh, you're calling on me?
Yes.
Emily. I am Wendy Davis. I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm the president and CEO of PSI. Okay, I don't mean to be outside the box right off the bat, but I'm not, instead of saying my favorite pizza topping, I would like to say my favorite pizza crust is now a good cauliflower crust, which I'm so glad that you can find in your nearest grocery store.
Right. Yes. Yes. All right. Next up, Andrea, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Andrea Clark-Horton. I'm the director of the Alliance for People of Color with PSI. I'm rather boring because I don't really eat. I was just telling my son the other day, I would love to have pepperoni pizza, but I don't really eat pork or beef. So usually I'm eating spinach and onions because the pepperoni just does not agree with me anymore. Or that would be my favorite.
That sounds good. All right. Birdie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Birdie Meyer. I am the Director of Certification and Training with Postpartum Support International. And I don't think, if I had to pick one, it would be black olives, because I do love olives. But my very favorite pizza, listen, is black olives, sausage, onions, and mushrooms.
Oh.
Every time. That's what I order. Nice. Right there. On a cauliflower crust, Wendy Davis.
Yum.
Telling you.
Dr. Kat, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Thanks for having me. I am Kaeni. I go by Dr. Kat because, wow, that's easier. And I'm the current PSI board chair and clinical psychologist, and I host the Mom and Mind podcast. And I'm going to get some haters. This is a very split.
Pineapple.
Some people, pineapple.
Yes!
Don't hate me. Don't think any less of me. And for those of you who like pineapple, you join me. Pepperoni and pineapple.
That is my son's favorite pizza, Kat. That is his favorite pizza, pepperoni and pineapple.
Yes. Great minds think alike.
That is so funny.
The amount of times that we had pineapple and Canadian bacon with our kids growing up. I tell you what, I should have stock in Papa Murphy's.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I want to dive right in and get into the meat or the meat alternative for Andrea, if need be. We're gonna do like some satay, right? Is that the meat alternative, or like tofu? We could do that. That would be good. So I think a lot of us on the internet, in the world, look to the four of you as sort of like leaders in perinatal mental health in a bunch of different ways. And there's probably a lot of pressure that comes with that. Or maybe you're not aware that a lot of people look up to you, but we do. So what I would like to know is, instead of talking about how you guys are superhuman or super mom or any of those things that I think are harmful, I want to talk about what makes you real and whole and fallible. So if you could tell us, like, what is your kryptonite? This could be like a parenting kryptonite. This could be a professional kryptonite. You know, however you'd like to share. I'm interested in what makes you human.
You'll have to call on us.
Okay. Dr. Kat, would you like to go first?
Oh man, I knew if I said something, you were going to make me go
That's
first.
what you get for saying something. I was being real quiet.
That's funny. I have several. There are lots of things that trip me up every day, all the time. I was just telling my husband, actually, I was like, it would be super cool to not have to deal with so many barriers to just getting to the next step, the next place, whatever. It feels like there's always stuff coming up. So yeah, I mean, it's not just one thing. You know, I'm an overthinker for sure. That trips me up a lot. I get really inside my head about way too many things. And that's been since I was little, just part of the deal. So if I were to I guess limit it to one major thing that encompasses a lot of things, it would be the overthinking and kind of getting inside my own head. And which can sometimes, you know, have, like, I've created my own barrier to getting to the next thing with that. So work in progress for sure, something that I do work on, but I'm also working on not working on stuff all the time because I'm an overthinker and I have to just be like, you know what, whatever, it's fine. I'm just going to take a seat here. I don't need to work on this right now.
Wow. I need to write that one down. Like that's
my new favorite thing.
Like, I don't need to be working on something all the time.
No, man, it's exhausting.
That's from a clinical psychologist, by the way.
Yeah.
Very important.
All right, Birdie, what's your kryptonite?
Okay. She sounded all nice. One of mine is, I was thinking when I have two grown women daughters, and one of them is just worrying about their lives and are they happy? And who told us that when they turned 18, we were done worrying about them, right? So that's one of them. But you know what? A really big kryptonite for me is that when people are, I get irritated by people that are passive aggressive or they're moody. I just am not, I don't tolerate it well. I'm like, oh, knock it off. Just stop. Just say it. Say what you want. And if you're in a bad mood, you know what? Go somewhere else.
Take all of that.
How about that? Look at Wendy. She's like, oh no, this is going to be live everywhere.
This is live right now.
It is.
Wait, I have a question. I have a follow-up question though. Okay, so if part of what's bothering you is the indirectness, do you
Yes.
find directness refreshing? Like, do you just want someone to be like, here's what I need from you, or here's what I'm asking of you, instead of sort of like beating around the point of the thing? Like, just get to it.
Right. I just want it. I want the direct, tell me, just tell me. And honestly, if you're in a bad mood, I won't go there again. But we all have bad moods, right?
I was just getting ready to translate for you. The reality is, may I say,
yes.
on your behalf, you're talking about a kind of bad mood, like a taking it out on people, cranky.
Yeah.
Birdie Meyer is I'm going to cry right now. It's like one of the best, most gracious, generous capacity for holding people's sorrow. And so Birdie, please explicate, because that's not what you mean.
What do I mean?
You're not talking about if you have big feelings, go somewhere else.
No, not at all.
Yeah, just say more.
How about mean?
Yeah, how about that?
Yes.
Don't be mean.
Okay. You were using a euphemism.
Don't be mean.
Yeah.
And tell me what you really need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I just got off the phone with someone who I wanted to ask a specific question, and she was very direct. And I just said, you know what? That's enough. She started to apologize. I said, don't. That's what I wanted from you. I wanted a direct answer, and I appreciate that. That's
Nice.
it.
That's so good.
But I like Dr. Kat telling us that sometimes you don't have to work on everything. There's things I've let go of over the years, lots. Like I used to think everybody had to like me, and I don't think that anymore. So
that's so good. All right, Andrea.
I'll echo a lot of the stuff that's already been said. When Dr. Kat was saying overthinker, I'm an overthinker and I'm an overdoer. And so that whole thing about this is my year of no, right? We asked a question to the women at my church a couple of weeks ago, like, what are you saying yes to right now? And my yes is to saying no.
Nice.
And for a long time, the ability to say no was my kryptonite. Like I always felt like I was letting somebody down. I was missing an opportunity. Somebody wasn't going to like me. And now I'm just too tired to say yes to everything. My other kryptonite though is mom guilt, which I feel like a lot of us probably can relate to. My son is 10 and he's got a mom who he counted them for me. He told me I have 7 jobs and he named them all. And he says, Mommy, you're a court person, because I'm a lawyer, even though I don't practice right now. You're a court person, you're a teacher, you're a student, you're a pastor, you write books. And he said, you're a day maker. And I said, what's a day maker? He said, when you go on the computer and you talk to the people that are feeling sad and they don't feel good and you make their day better.
Oh,
I'm a therapist. And he said, and you're a mommy.
That's the best.
that's great.
And so
That is a wise child.
He's a 40-year-old man in a little crooked body. But I never want him to feel like any of those other 6 jobs outweighs, the mommy job. And it's so hard to balance all of those things at one time that him coming and saying, Mommy, can you play with me? Like melts me, because he's not gonna be doing that for too much longer. Right. But I never want him to feel like anything else that I'm doing is more important than being his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Right.
That's so good. Dr. Wendy Davis, what's your kryptonite?
I could just say everything. First of all, I love the phrase kryptonite, having grown up with Superman like a lot of us. I have lots of kryptonite too. What's interesting is that when you ask the question, you said, "What's your kryptonite? What makes you human?" And those are two really interesting questions to me, because I spent a lot of my time just working, just being human. And so I swear, I know it sounds like I'm just spinning this, but it really is my coping strategy meta in my life. Like, my kryptonite is also my learning stone. It really is. And so I would say this is a hard one. I think my kryptonite is I also am really a sensitive person. I'm in a really public position. I don't like when people are mean and when they're bullying. I don't, on a smaller level, I really don't like when people just make assumptions and just start talking. And I work so hard in my communication not to make assumptions that sometimes some would say that's my kryptonite, depending on the person. Like, I ask a lot of questions. That's why I became a therapist. I'm just naturally like, ooh, do you mean, and like, I unassumption, and then I kind of work my way into it, you know what I mean? So when people make assumptions and just start talking at me or talking about other people, and I just realized my true kryptonite right now is the emotional and physical violence in the world. That's it. I'm sorry. Like, I can't even think about anything without, like I just did, recognizing the kind of violence that I see on the internet, even, or that I see in my city or in the comments. And so that really, really hurts me. And if I'm not careful, quite honestly, way to go deep, I really fall into despair. So you better be asking us what's our touchstone, because kryptonite is something that exists, but you shouldn't hang around it very long.
Right.
You should find a way to move on, get it out of your space, and get back with your people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Oh, we got an echo.
Just you.
Oh, it's
No, I hear you.
Here's my follow-up. I probably should have clarified that we were talking about green kryptonite and not red kryptonite. That's for like the Marvel nerds out there, or the DC nerds out there, like, who are going to come into the comments and have like all kinds of thoughts. So we're going to move on to the next portion of this. So you all are human, and you have all accomplished amazing things thus far and plan to do more. So my next question is, can you tell us about what is your personal highlight in terms of something that you've accomplished for PSI, for perinatal mental health, either or both, so far to date?
This is so challenging. It'd be easier to ask for us to say it about other people. You know that. So we can do it, though, y'all. We can do it.
I believe in you.
I was on mute talking about you. If we just sat here and just praised Wendy, she would just want to die.
Right.
Look, she just shrink. So that's why she said it. I'll go first, because this one's easy for me. It's I started in PSI as a volunteer in 2000 when I came to take the 2-day training. And so I will tell you that my legacy will always be that the 2-day training was given twice a year. And I said, why don't we do this more often? And why don't we do this all over the country? And from that statement, it was like, well, I don't know, look into it, Birdie. Well, what I love to do is take something and grow it. And I had met Wendy also in 2005, and I knew she was doing trainings, and I met a couple other people, the Arizona women and Missouri, and I got a committee together of people, and we gathered all these PowerPoints, and we like redid the 2-day training. What would be the best training? And then I was the first chair of education and training on the board of directors. And I realized that I loved doing it. And at first, Wendy and I, volunteering together, started like setting up trainings, and we did all the work. Whereas now it's so lovely because we have an event manager. And when we look back at the old days, it was unbelievable how much work we did and figured out how to do trainings. But that started in 2006. I did my first pre-conference at a training in Jersey City. And I've been doing the 2-day pre-conference ever since 2006. But I'm the proudest of when I hear and see, and I'm still over all the trainings, and I'm still doing trainings. When I see how big it's grown, I know that when I'm far gone from this earth, that will be my legacy. See, that makes me cry. I know that I also had a hand in helping with the very first support groups we did. And now I'm not growing it anymore because it's taken over by other people. But oh my gosh, to see how much that's grown. So, you know, I get all crazy just looking at how big PSI is and can't believe it. But that's probably my biggest, in my mind, my hugest. I know that I also, you know, spearheaded the certification, but I really am the proudest of the education, the trainings, and how many trainings we've added and continue to add. And that's it for me. That's the big thing for me.
That's amazing.
You remember how many providers we've trained, Birdie, about now?
No.
About 50,000.
Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. See, that makes me cry.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about like what kind of providers we train for a minute?
Sure. You know, honestly, I always say it's the usual suspects. When we get to a training, we've got the usual suspects. And that is that we have at our trainings, about 80% psychotherapist. And then the other 20% physicians, OTs, PTs, which has really grown our audience of OTs and PTs, but nurses, advanced practice nurses, NPs, CNMs, PAs are coming, just the people, the different disciplines coming, home visitors who are just longing to learn more about perinatal mental health, lactation, childbirth educators, dietitians, art therapists, music therapists, chaplains. It just amazes me. Like we have like all these people coming to learn more. Who'd I forget? Like forget a big group?
No, I was worried you would forget one. You're like one that you're in, lactation, but there it was.
There it was.
And the reason I asked that is I really think that is a unique influence because of the way that you think and teach and who you are professionally. So I think that, you know, for example, trainings could have happened, PSI could have happened. It could have been just, I'm not disparaging a mental health profession. I am part of that profession, but could have just been for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Could have.
True.
And certification is not, and that is you.
Mm-mm. For everybody, even advocates, even lived experience people taking training and becoming certified. Doulas. I didn't say doulas. I love doulas. Social workers.
Doulas are so good.
Yeah. Okay. Ask somebody else now.
All right. Don't all jump at once. Dr. Kat. Andrea, go.
Okay.
I saw you on mute.
I'll go. Yeah. So I guess Wendy knows I have this problem, right? With diminishing my own kind of sense of accomplishment. And that's probably one of the other kryptonites, right? But part of that for me is like this is so close to me, and I feel so passionate about this. Now I want to cry. Birdie dog on it. So close to the work that it doesn't feel like work all the time.
Yeah.
And so even as starting the Alliance, coming under the auspices of PSI in 2022, and founded by 3 wonderful women, who started the work, but to see how even the team that I've assembled has grown, and the depth of their gifts. Like, I don't even know where these amazing women came from, that are really doing the work of making the machine run, but also like sharing so much of themselves in that. And I think that I'm most proud of one of the things I said to Wendy in my first week of work 2 years ago now was that I did not want the Alliance to feel like this safe little corner in the world of PSI, but for it to be a conduit to make PSI feel like a safe space. And I really am proud that I feel that is what has been happening. And I can only hope and pray, that if and when I am no longer the director of the Alliance, that will have been the biggest legacy, in addition to giving these fabulous women who are all women of color on my team, all 2 of whom are therapists and experts, one of whom was a therapist and a psychotherapist in Mexico, giving them room to exercise their gifts in these other ways, but also making sure that their names are spoken and that their faces are seen and that their labor is recognized in this field. Being able to have the platform to do that has been one of the greatest joys of my adult working life. So that's it.
I have the chills.
Yay.
I'm gonna cry now, so let me turn.
We don't hide from feelings anymore, apparently. That's a joke, if you know me. Because that's what I did many years. Dr. Kat, Wendy, do you guys have...
We'll go in unison. Well, actually, I am going to say this. I get to work. Okay, well, I'll just be loudly crying our eyes off by the end of this.
It's fun.
I get to work with Dr. Kat. She's my co-pilot. We're really fortunate.
You kind of stole my answer, dude.
Oh.
I'm just
Look
kidding.
at how that works. You go.
I know.
You go.
No. I'm. Go ahead.
We're doing it in unison. That's the point. Like, how amazing to have 2 empaths, highly sensitive, funny people learning how to not hide their light under a bushel get to work together as co-pilots in this beautiful garden. How amazing. So I'll just say, and maybe we will do it together, but kind of like we all feel this. I think this is why we're here, why you wanted us on this particular webinar, is like I said at some point to my family, a long time ago, I do have balance, but I stopped trying to figure out separate the ivy from the tree. This is so much a part of me. And so maybe that's the contribution, is how to do that, but not be overwhelmed by it. That you can, that maybe I've helped to, and on purpose, collaboratively help to create a space in the perinatal mental health field in a workplace that allows for empathy and honestly doesn't allow for violence. And I said to somebody a long time ago, I remember the conversation when I was just a volunteer for PSI, but people were already coming to me like, "Can't you do something about that?" And I said, "Look, if I'm ever the director of PSI, we didn't even have a director then, I would require everyone to read about nonviolent communication. But until then, I'll just do my part." And you know what? It's like, It's true. And I think that there are lots of things I do, but I know that's important. And in a kind of my little Capricorn way, I love to work. I mean, I don't mean I'm a workaholic. I love to work. And I think it's made a difference because I think that then I get to share what it means to love to work. And if you're being hurt by it, something's off. We can change it so that creativity and passion and empathy and knowledge and skill and data is all part of our work. And I think that's who I am. And I'm also shy, but I'm not shy about working. Like, I'm a restaurant worker. I'm just like, let's just get in and we'll just have a really fabulous meal, and we'll like listen to what people need. So basically, at my heart, I have brought my waitressing skills to the field of perinatal mental health and tried to make it a really, really good experience for other people. And I know that sounds kind of generalist, but that's what comes to mind right now.
I would agree with that.
And that's what you've done for the organization, not only leading us in an amazing way, but the work environment where you hear nearly 100% of us, I would say 100%, but maybe somebody's unhappy, but I can't imagine why they would be working for this organization where Wendy has made this a safe, non-judgmental, non-violent atmosphere to work in. I've never experienced this in all my years in the hospital. I've never experienced where, and you create that where it's safe. It's truly safe and feels safe.
And part of what's safe is that people aren't always happy, and you got to listen and be like,
right,
learning stone, bring it. Let's talk about it.
Right. So thank you for that, Wendy.
Total aside, we did forget the doulas. I just put it over to the comments, by the way, y'all. We're sorry, because Birdie, thank you for remembering before you even saw the comments.
Because I always say doulas.
We love you.
I love you.
Please.
When are we?
You.
Yeah.
My doula saved my life, is why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Is why I'm here. She did. My postpartum doula friend. So I just need to say, I was just observing that and it was distracting me, but that's part of it. Like, it's okay. You can say that. It's not a huge distraction. It took 30 seconds and it's part of what I mean by, if someone doesn't have a chair and you're already in a circle, make the circle bigger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Okay, I'm done. Dr. Cat.
Oh, Wendy. Yeah, you're amazing. And that's one of the coolest parts of this. I remember when I, first started volunteering and wanted to lead a climb. And like the first communications with you, you've been the same person the whole time. This is from like 2014 to now. Like, you're so mission driven and heart centered and welcoming. And I think I'm just going to be a little like Wendy Love Fest for a second, if I can extend it. I learned a lot about how to communicate evenly and sort of democratically from you. There were now kind of like being on the inside and hearing and seeing sort of like, some of the stuff that comes at PSI and comes sort of opinions that could be on all sides of an argument, and people pulling in every direction, wanting PSI to do this or do that, and in the way that they best see fit. I have learned from you how to sort of stay the course and stay connected to our mission and allow people to have all of those thoughts and opinions and whatever. And continue that our mission is our mission. And it's just, it's so cool because, we could be pulled in a million different directions and then not be able to serve everybody. So anyways, that's kind of connected to, I don't know about legacy of mine, but being able to even like go from volunteer coordinator to helping with certification and being on the board and getting to be board chair for this bit of time is such an honor. I mean, that's not like a legacy. It's just pretty freaking cool to have been able to serve PSI in this way.
But you are leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
For all that you did. Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Thanks. One thing that I am proud of, and this is actually I wouldn't say a kryptonite type of a thing, but being a mixed ethnicity person, having both Iranian and my dad being an immigrant, me being first generation, and my mom Midwestern white, being since I don't know the Mayflower or something, I don't know when they got here. Holding that line, I've been told, even though that I identify as a woman of color, I've been told that I'm not. While that's incredibly invalidating and really not up to anybody else, being the first board chairwoman of color has been a pretty cool space to hold. So that I think is pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Really cool.
Thanks.
And your work on the PSI DEI task force has been really instrumental because of the way you listen and think and ask, and your heart is always there. You're such a truth teller. And I am positive that I would not have gotten to interview Alanis Morissette if you didn't exist in the world of perinatal mental health and through your True Mom and Mind podcast. So I think
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't have without PSI. We did that together.
And I think that your work, I think Mom and Mind is really important in this field. Like, if you don't mind my adding on, I mean, that's.
I'm not going to stop you from praising me. I mean,
hey. Yeah. Because it's true, there are more and more podcasts. Like this beautiful one, I am one, but there are more and more podcasts in this space of maternal mental health, perinatal mental health. But come on now, Dr. Kat, you're the OG.
Pioneer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Coming up on 8 years next month.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks.
I was on episode 104. Think about that.
That's right. 2016.
I want to send her a little cake with a little number 8 in it. Like hearing this. Right.
Yeah, I am proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's started a lot of conversations that I think have been accessible to everyone that would have otherwise not, I don't know, been able to consider a perspective, been able to, think about another type of treatment, like so many things. Yeah. So I would agree with that. All right. So we've looked at the legacies that we have created, and now I want to dream big and think about the future. Now, pie in the sky, what is a big goal, a big dream, a big something for PSI, for perinatal mental health? I think we all know that mine is a tour bus. So just going to keep putting it out there.
Nice.
No. What's next?
I'll go. Part of the goal has been for a while to make sure that PSI is known, very known, so that everybody who needs us can find us. And over the past couple of years, the efforts to really be out in front and center and like through media and be more public and be more seen, the efforts have really pushed PSI way more out into public view. And I can't wait for there to be more. So, like with the Blue Dot campaign and just with PSI recognition in general, I really want it to be, similar to the other nonprofit organizations, that as soon as you see a color, you've associated that color with a cause or a ribbon or something like that. You just know that, and I want everybody to just know that PSI exists, and the work that the communications team is doing to make this happen is just phenomenal. And that's, I don't even think it's pie in the sky. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of hopefully sooner than later that it gets as big as I know we can be.
Once upon a time, it did feel like a big dream, though. Like it felt hard to reach. And now it's like watching it happen, which is incredible. Yeah. Who else has a big dream?
Well, that is my big dream. I mean, when Kat was talking about that, that's really, I remember when I was president from 2008 to 2010, one of my things I kept saying is we need to be a household word. I mean, that was just something I say. And honestly, to see 2 years ago now, HRSA, to have a hotline that Wendy filled out all the paperwork and that we had to do to say, well, PSI is obviously the place that needs to answer that phone line, that hotline. We've always had our helpline and we were there, but that made me cry, that there's a hotline that someone can call that needs help 24/7, 365, and the people answering the phone are trained by PSI. They know perinatal mental health, and they are helping them from the moment they answer the phone and get them the resources. And I am so proud when people say, wait, all the resources you have are free? Yes, they are. And for them to be our resources, to be known, that's pie in the sky, that everyone that needs help with a perinatal mental health issue, family, anybody associated would know, oh, I know where to call. That it's that common that, oh, I know the place. It's that big. And of course, I have to say, side note, that everyone would be trained to know anybody who crosses the path of a pregnant or postpartum person or their families should know perinatal mental health and know to call PSI.
I love that. I was going to say that's part of my dream too, Birdie, is for everybody to be trained. I think big picture, just in terms of perinatal mental health in general, for implicit bias in terms of treatment for people of color, people of lower socioeconomic status, genderqueer, LGBTQ folks, like for bias in treatment to be completely eradicated. And to tie that back to my big dream for PSI is, just as we want PSI to be the household name and synonymous with like, this is the go-to. This is what I tell everybody. I'm like, oh no, PSI is the go-to organization in terms of like learning and support for individuals and their families during the perinatal period. Just full stop, period. But for the Alliance to be that same thing when we're talking about equity and addressing these issues in communities of color, and that we will be looked to, so that when we're talking about eliminating bias in practice, that they're looking to PSI and the Alliance for guidance on how to do that, that we become the entity, the institution, the organization that people are looking for to really set best practices. And that we become a hub for research and for innovation in those areas. That is like, I want to say it's pie in the sky because it feels big, but I I think it's going to happen. It's totally doable.
It's already started. And what's really wonderful, I guess my big dream is to have this garden that we've grown. We didn't just plant seeds, we're past that. And we see it blooming, and we are part of that bloom. And a couple of things about that. One, we do it, the reason it's working is we do it in collaboration. That's another thing that really I've really deliberately, mindfully, and step by step made sure that we're always open, like we're always collaborating with other organizations. We're learning from them, whether it's in partnership or whether I hire people who are way better at me at doing things that I don't know how to, like, you just have to be open like that. That's why it's working. So we are working with researchers, and we are working with HRSA, and we are working with doulas, and we are working with people who, mind the gap, the Riley group, to get into policy, people who have that expertise, so that PSI can really be a change agent. And I think what you both said is that it's already happening, but my absolute wish and plan is to make sure that garden is planted with perennials,
Right.
not just a beautiful garden this summer. And that as soon as you talk about legacy, we think this uncomfortable thought, like, well, what do you mean? Aren't I always going to be here? So it's really interesting to think, well, no. But so part of my legacy is to make sure that garden is really in shape, and that it keeps coming. It keeps growing, right, Andrea? That we are, and part with, look at the people that, just your answer. I could have just said ditto, but the point is that this is representative. We used to just have 2 staff. Then we had 5, then we had 8. In 2018, we had 8 staff. We have 75, maybe 80 on PSI right now, and another 50 on the hotline. And that was 2018. That's who PSI is.
Right.
And it's not spontaneous, it's not flash in the pan. We're not a one-hit wonder. That's because it's been years, 37 years of growth. So
Right.
what you're seeing is a really, really hardworking legacy that came before us, starting with Jane Honigman. But the thing is, how do we keep it going? And how do we actually, and I think, Kat, you've been very good at this on the board, how do we institute, not just in writing, but also document? How do we really institute and internalize those mechanisms, which are not standard, Andrea? It's radical work to talk to people about implicit bias and deal with their pushback. Have someone say to Kat, no, you're not. What? Like, so how do we deal with that pushback and not falter and not crumble and not get pissed and rude? And like, we just go, nevertheless, let's get back to the work. And that's my wish, is that, yes, everybody knows this is the resource. The reason it's the resource is that we connect to other resources, but that somehow, partly we need continued funding. All of our services, to all that we're talking about for families, are completely free. So everything else we do, we're really a charity, and it's remarkable. But I need, and that's part of my job, is to keep finding that funding and create an infrastructure to keep it going.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we've hit on all of our
Wait, Kat unmuted, so you have to ask her.
Oh.
What's that?
You unmuted, so I bet you had something to say.
Oh, nope, I'm good. Well, I was thinking it. Maybe Wendy and I have a little bit of like a psychic connection sometimes. It's
cool.
pretty wild. I was just like sitting here sort of in awe of all of you, and you too, Emily included. And just the amazing work that you guys do is phenomenal. And it, like, the amount of how you've all pushed forward everything that you do and continue to make improvements and make it better and fine tune. And just the growth of it is phenomenal. And you guys are awesome. That's what I was thinking.
Thanks. All right. I'm going to switch us to the lightning round because we have 10 minutes left on this, guys. And I want to get to some different kinds of questions. So these are short answer. There's not a lot of clarifying.
Because she looks at us. Looks at how she looked at us.
Yeah. Birdie, short.
Or as my kids would go.
Oh.
That apparently that's the thing that they do. All right. So here we go. Are you ready? Do you ever feel not so super? What do you do to help yourself get out of a funk? In one sentence or less.
Sometimes I watch the same show I've always watched, like The Good Place or Schitt's Creek. I always know it's going to
Comfort
me out.
TV.
Comfort TV.
Yes.
Comfort TV? How come I've never heard that? I go outside.
Touch a tree, metaphorically or literally.
Oh, no, quite purposefully touch.
Yeah, I do. I buy myself flowers, fresh flowers, all the time.
Yep, I love that.
Song in my head right now.
Birdie.
I do use prayer and music. Those are two things that just really can turn me around.
That's amazing. All right. I want people in the comments to tell us what they do because I feel like everyone's got a thing that works, right? So if you're listening and you want to share in the chat, that'd be great. Next up, what made you belly laugh? Like something that was just absurd recently. You are allowed to say that you were scrolling on a social media and you found a funny thing, or maybe you read something or watched a TV show, and I need to put that in my queue. So tell me what you got.
I can't limit it to one thing, but my older brother is the funniest person in the world to me. And it doesn't matter what he says or how he says it. I mean, it could be a text or just something he says offhand. And I'm like, have probably been his biggest fan since I was a baby because he's 4 years older than me and I was a captive audience, but it's often my brother.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
It's usually something my kid does or says because I promise you he's been here before and he's really an adult in a little person's body. Or I have a really good friend who I went to seminary with who's also a pastor. And so the ability to kind of code switch between girlfriend, friend, like language and Bible quotes, our chats are hilarious. I'm like, that is not in the Bible. I don't know that is not in the Bible, but she constantly, she's just hilarious. She's funny. Knows how to also pick me up out of a funk too by making me laugh.
That's so good.
Funny friends are so necessary, aren't they? And you know what, Kat, that's funny. Two things. I really am going to say two things and I'll be fast, but I had my two grandkids, my youngest grandkids here for the last couple of days or Monday, Tuesday. And they're 5 and 6. And my little grandson, we went to the park and there were these sweet 5 teenagers who played Duck, Duck, Goose and with them. And oh my gosh, they thought whatever. At some point, they just thought they were so cool. And at some point I said, okay, it's 8:30. Yes, Granny lets them stay up late. I said, we got to get home. They rode their bikes over. We got to get home. So on the way home, they were like, why didn't those other kids have to go home? And I said, because they're teenagers. And so Kinsey, when do I get to be a teenager? And I said, well, you're 6 and teenager is 13. Oh yeah, Grammy. They were with that one girl was 13, the other boy was 14, and they said they're in 8th grade. And I said, yes, that's a teenager. So we get home, and all of a sudden, my little 5-year-old Jameson says, Grammy. Yeah. I didn't even know that teenagers existed.
So cute.
I am telling you, it's everything you can do not to just howl right at that. And the other thing that everybody's going to die that you know this about me, but farts make me laugh. Farts make me laugh so hard. And this is my older brother, also, Kat, you reminded me, because he would fart at the dinner table, get in trouble for it, and I am bent over double, hilariously. Grown adult people,
Same.
fart would make me laugh.
Same.
Until I can't breathe.
Well, that's
This
funny.
this is like when you go to pick a video and you can't remember anything. I don't know what makes me laugh, but I love to laugh. And I can tell you I have a lot of chuckles, but a belly laugh feels so great. And I don't remember right now. All I know is recently something made me laugh so hard on Instagram that my husband calls upstairs. Are you all right? He thought I was crying. So hard. Are you okay?
That's great.
Who knows what it was?
Yeah, I love it when you laugh until you can't breathe. I think that's always a good time.
It was reserved for my closest sister. Like literally, we sound like we're dying.
Oh my goodness. All right.
We will have some of those belly laughs soon when we're all together in Washington, D.C., because we all make each other laugh in person.
That is true. There's something about like that in-person community.
Yeah.
It's very special. Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm going to go to, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like if you answered that question in, I don't know, first grade, third grade, fifth grade, what did you say?
First, I want to be Pippi Longstocking, who could climb trees and go barefoot and be by herself outside all the time.
Mhm.
Second, believe it or not, I had an auntie who I love so much, and I found out she was called a psychiatric social worker, and I wanted to be that when I grew up. I did. Mm-hmm. I'm not that, but I'm kind of like that.
Kind of. You're close.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be an author.
Check.
Yeah.
Right? I wanted to be a lawyer when I was in
Check.
grade, right? And I went to college and I wanted to be a psychologist, therapist.
Check.
No,
Working
Master
on it.
wasn't in there, but I'm that too. But that's what I remember wanting to be. Yeah.
I wish I had that kind of success rate. I wanted to be an acrobat.
That's great. I get that. I like to actually believe I could do that. I wanted to be, which is funny, I wanted to be a teacher, and elementary ed and special ed, and that's what I went to college to be. And somewhere along the line, switched to nursing. Never wanted to be a nurse. Loved being a nurse, and here I am. What am I doing? Teaching.
Yes.
Yeah, and I always wanted to be a musician, so I did play clarinet and I sang in the choir, so I got to do those things.
Okay.
So you should tell people you are a nurse. I don't know if that's obvious.
I am a nurse.
Yeah.
I am a nurse, and it was a great career. I still am a nurse. Also a therapist, but I'm a nurse first.
Dr. Kat, what did you want?
Yeah, since I was 12, I wanted to be a psychologist.
Wow.
It's also so interesting.
My mom says she can remember the day I walked in from the garage and told her I want to be a psychologist.
What happened? Okay, never mind.
But if I could be anything in the world and be good at it, I would be a singer. That's what I would do.
Right.
So when I'm in my car by myself, that's what I do.
It's so interesting that none of us said, but probably I know that I assumed I would be a mom, and I wanted to be a mom. And then when I got in my 20s, I decided I wouldn't be a mom. And then I changed my mind at 36. And I'm so glad. But it wasn't even like an aspiration. I just knew I would be. And I knew I'd be a musician. Like it's so much part of me, right, Birdie? So is that also true for the rest of you? Did you want to be a mom?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mhm. Had all the Cabbage Patch Kids. Teach them school too, and change their outfits and make Barbie babysit them. All of it.
That's awesome.
All right. Final question. This one's for all the marbles. I don't know that there are marbles. I'm not handing anything out. I'm sorry. That's totally made up. If you were a new mom with a perinatal mental health condition today, which PSI program would you be turning to?
Peer mentor.
Oh,
I would do peer mentor. I was so internal in my experience that I would need some, like, one person who I knew what I was going through to pull me out.
Great
Yep.
answer.
Yeah, I think after I'm a lost mom, so I had several losses before my son, and I never went to get support from a psychologist, therapist, or from a support group. But I think, knowing what I know now, I would probably go to one of the Black Moms in Loss support group. Would be the one that I would go to, just because I felt so alone in that experience, and being there with other folks I know who can relate. It would have been really helpful, I think, for me.
There's something about the way you phrase that question, Emily, which is so perfect, because we think about this all the time, and I use my lived experience all the time. But putting together, if it were today, which PSI program is a really new question for me. I love it. I absolutely, Introverts Unite, would go for peer mentor, or even more introverted, and how I felt at the time, if such things existed, the directory. I would go to psidirectory.com and say, who can I talk to? And also, I would use not social media, not because I want to be overwhelmed, but I can come and not be seen. And that would be really important to me. So the kind of things that come out on all of our social media channels, the Alliance, the Climb, PSI Central. If I spoke Spanish, it would be on the Spanish too. Blue Dot. Oh, I just would absorb that so much and look for my stories and learn from people. Yeah.
Yeah, I love our support group. So I thought that'd be my first answer. But to be honest, with my personality, I love facilitating support groups. But with my personality, I'm not sure that that's the program that I would use. I bet you, knowing me today, I would use our social media, listening to Dr. Kat, listening to I Am One, that sense of feeling like I'm not the only one. Even though I know that our support groups are amazing, you're not alone, you're not to blame, and you will be well with the proper treatment, I probably would be the social media person listening, because I still listen to Dr.
Right, 100%. And like the staff person who runs our closed Facebook group is on the podcast. Hi, Melissa, we see you, heart. And that's it. Like being able to be in community and choose when to speak and when not is so important. And I think that the other thing people don't realize, though, is that the 800 number, we all know our programs, but most people don't. So the 800 number is how people find out about all these things,
Right,
and find what works for them. That we shared recently on social media a quote, which came from me. I was like, ooh, that was a good one. And it's that there is help for everybody, but most people who need it think they don't deserve it. And to add to that, they don't know how to find it. And that's why we're so proud, is that usually it's one door. You can go to the hotline or the helpline, and we have these amazing responders who just say, here's what's available for you. Let's talk about it. And ask the question that Emily is basically asking us.
Yes.
And also, if any of us, you asked if we were in the middle of it, but if you said if you were recovered, can we just give you a bit of a shout out, Ms. Emily? If we were recovered and wanted to find a way to give back, which PSI program would you be attracted to and want to get involved with?
The
The
climb.
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 The climb is your gateway to all the other things that PSI has to offer. Because you get to learn a little bit about everything you need to in order to be a climb leader. And then you get to go forth into the world with that knowledge and make a difference where you live, with your friends, with your community. So yeah, it's true. The climb was it for me.
Yay, climb.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for an hour of your day. Our time is very precious, and so it was a joy that you were willing to share it with me and answer my tough questions. You heard it here first, everyone. I scooped people. I don't know. Someday you're going to say that somewhere else, and I'm going to say, but I scooped you because I ended it first.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Climb team and Alliance team, for helping us come together. And to overthinkers, including myself, we're not going to obsess about what we said or didn't say, because it lives in the moment, and it's just such a pleasure to be here.
Exactly. Whatever
Thanks,
we said was what we needed to say today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.